Hello, my lovely grade 7 class. Welcome to StudyWeb Academy, where education is without limits. Now, welcome to class. Welcome to our English class. And let's continue on our topic of discussing essay writing. So right now, I want us to directly go to our main focus for now. And that is, after looking at what essays are, okay, we looked at the key components to consider when writing an essay, what to consider. Then we went to look at the types of essays. We looked at the different types just to give an overview of what essays are. The narrative essays, the descriptive essays, the expository essays. We looked at the argumentative essays, persuasive essays. We looked at even compare and contrast essays, cause and effect essays, and lastly we looked at the process essays. So you have to notice that we have very many types, and these are some of the types that I mentioned. And as we continue learning, we will keep on looking at these different essays. So today's focus, we're going to be looking at 4 major essays from all this that we've looked at, or all this that we've talked about. And right now I want us to look at the first main one, and that is the narrative essay. So even from my other teaching, or from my other content or class, we talked about this narrative essay, just introduced you to it. So right now we're going to look at it in depth. We're going to know how to write it, how to identify a narrative essay, and how to know it's a narrative essay or not. So a narrative essay is a type of essay that tells the story or a recount of a personal experience. It allows writers to share a real-life experience or event with the reader while engaging them through descriptive language, sensory details, and a clear chronological event or sequence of event. Okay. Narrative essays are often used to convey a lesson, evoke emotions, or provide insight into the writer's perspective. So again, with the narrative essays, you want to make sure that you are telling someone about your experience. So one main thing you have to notice with narrative essays, their personal experience, the experiences from our own personal accounts. So you're sharing a real life experience. You're writing a real life experience. So with narrative essays, you want to give us a recount of a personal experience. As you're writing, you want to use you want to tell us about a specific lesson that you learned, or a lesson that you learned after doing something, and which we call an aftermath. An aftermath is just the consequences, or what you learn, or what you get from doing a specific thing. Okay, so those are the narrative essays. So now let's look at the elements of a narrative essay. What do elements mean? What do narrative essay have? Okay, so what do these essays have? And one element is the plot. Now, what is a plot? And I think most of us know what a plot is. So just try figure out what a plot is. Okay, so a plot is a narrative. Like a plot is just the occurrence or an account of what has happened from the beginning to the end. Okay, so a plot is basically an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So a plot is just a clear narration from how something started, how it continued, and how it ended. Okay, so a plot is just a clear narration. So a narrative essay typically has a clear plot that includes an introduction, rising action, a climax, and a resolution. So these elements help structure the story and build the tension. So with the plot here, you want to make sure that if you're telling us a recount of an experience, you give us introduction. Maybe there's this time you're going to the forest to maybe do some hiking. Then with the rising action, you say, as you're hiking, you notice some noises in the forest, and maybe things were following you, or you met some animal, or just something weird that happened. So that is a rising action. Okay, so things were following you, you heard some weird noises. So that is a rising action. You're building the tension whereby the listeners want to really get they are all ears trying to hear what is this that was behind you. So you're telling them you're in the forest, and the rising climax or rising action, sorry, the rising action will be you started hearing noises behind you and things following you, okay? So after the rising action, we look at the climax. Now the climax, you say, out of nowhere, a group of native people or some beast or an animal or an endangered species started following you and started running after you. So you ran and it caught maybe one of your friends, and whatever happened, we don't know. But that is just a climax now. And then now a resolution comes in. A resolution is maybe you reached a river and you notice that this thing or this thing that was following you could not swim. So you swam across the river and went to the other side. Or maybe you decided to face this thing head on and fight with it and just chase it away. And maybe the resolution is you notice that the thing was not even after you. It was running, it was just running or having a normal day running around, okay? So that is the resolution. So we notice that a narrative or a narrative essay must have a plot, okay? Then after a plot, we have another element which we call the character. So with the character, these are the people in the story. So the main people who are being talked about in the story. So in most narrative essays, characters play a role. These characters can be real people, fictional characters, or even aspects of the writer's own personality. So when telling us a narrative essay, you want to include characters. They must have a characters. You can't give us a plain story with no characters, or we don't even know who is being talked about. Who are these people running? What is this animal you saw? So the other element is the character, okay? Do not forget about that. Then the other element we have is the setting. Setting is where the story took place, or actually it's where the story took place. So the setting of the story provides context and helps the reader realize or visualize the events. It includes details about the time, place, and which the story took about, or which the time and the place in which the story unfolds, okay? So setting tells us where was it, what time was it, so where it was the forest, what time, in the morning or in the afternoon, okay? So the setting just tells us where the story took place, or where the activities took place. So that is the setting. So that is another element of narrative essay. And don't forget, let's move to the next element. We have theme, okay? A narrative must have a theme. A narrative must have the main lesson, or what are you trying to pass across, maybe, okay? So a narrative must have a theme. So a narrative essay often conveys a theme or a message. This might be a moral lesson, a personal revelation, or an insight into the human condition. So when you're done with your narrative, you have to tell us, therefore I learned that we should never walk in the forest alone, or we should never try to distract or disturb sleeping animals. So that is the main lesson you learned, or just the theme. The theme can be the main lesson you learned, or maybe a personal revelation. From that day I learned that I can really swim, or I can actually swim, okay? So that is the theme of the story, or a narrative must have a theme. So I hope you understand that, class. Now, after looking at the elements, and I've looked at these elements where I've given you examples of these elements, and even just try to remind us of the plot is an element, characters is another element, setting, conflicts, those are elements, theme, those are elements. So when you're writing a narrative or a narrative essay, you must make sure you include these elements. So now let's move on and look at something important, how to write these essays. How do we write these essays? We know about the narrative essays, we know what they are, but how do we write them? So first of all, you choose a topic, and you choose a topic that is specific, or select a specific event or experience that you want to narrate. Ensure that the chosen topic has a personal significance and conveys a message or a lesson. So first of all, like we said, narrative essays are personal stories or a recount of your personal experience, okay? So when you're choosing a topic, you must make sure that this topic has a significant message, or the topic chosen has a personal message or a personal lesson that reminds us of you or reminds you of something that happened to you. Okay, so make sure the topic chosen has this in it. Okay, after choosing the topic, now you create an outline. What do I mean by creating an outline? Plan your structure. Plan the structure of the essay. It should include maybe an introduction, body, why you narrate the event, and a conclusion. So you plan. I will start from telling you when I wake up. So the introduction is just maybe tell us an introduction of what you're going to be talking about. Then in the body, now give us the narration from how it started to how it ended. Then you come to your conclusion, where you now end the story, what you've learned, what you'll never do again. Okay, so when you're writing a narrative essay, you first choose a topic. That's very important. First, know what you're going to be talking about. Okay, after choosing a topic, now create an outline. An outline is just create just a summary of what you'll be writing about or how you'll be writing this essay. After that, now you must have an introduction. This is how to write an essay. Okay, so you must have an introduction. So with the introduction here, you make sure that you start with a hook to grab the reader's attention. And a hook, class, listen to this very carefully. A hook can be a question. Provoke a question like, how many of you have ever been followed by a wild beast? You see, people will be so alert and they'll know, what is this wild beast? So they want to hear, what is this wild beast you're talking about? So start with a hook where you grab the reader's attention. It can be a question. It can be maybe give us just a statement or a sentence of what really happened or what shocked your life. Okay, so that is a hook. So introduction, make sure you have a hook, and then provide a background information to set the context. So if you're talking about this day that a beast followed you in the forest, give us an introduction or a background story. Like, let us have a clear picture of what you'll be talking about, and then include a clear thesis statement. What do I mean include a clear thesis statement? That indicates, this statement should indicate your purpose. So with the thesis statement, again, you should have a statement that is telling us what you're going to be talking about, or what is the reason for you writing a narrative essay. Okay, so the thesis statement includes the purpose or the lessons of the story. Okay, so that is how you write your essay. Next, we look at the body. Okay, now in the body, you narrate the events in a chronological order. What do I mean by chronological order? Chronological, sorry, it simply means a step-by-step account, an order. Okay, so you start us from the beginning and give us the body to the conclusion. Okay, so you can start like, we went to the forest, then you move to, when we were home we had breakfast and my dad said we should go for a hike. Then you go, I saw the beast. So it doesn't even make sense. Okay, so with the body you must have an order, a step-by-step order, a chronological account. Okay, then you use descriptive language and sensory details to engage the reader. So tell us what you saw, what you had some whispers, you saw this beast looking at you, you smelled something rotten. Okay, so use these organs to even make your readers engage with you. You make the readers even want to listen to, what is this thing you smelled, what is this thing you saw. Okay, so that is the body. Then we have the climax and resolution. Now with the climax, now we talk about, you reach a point where the conflict comes to a head. Resolve the conflict and show how it impacted you or what you learned from it. So the beast started running after you, you were running, you fell down. So this is part of the conflicts. So then you came to, where there was a river, you decided to swim across the river, but notice the beast couldn't swim. So that is the resolution, right? You resolve this running, you resolve this tension of running. So that is the other part you should consider when writing this essay. The next is the conclusion. Now with the conclusion, you make sure you tell us, what did you learn from that day? Or end with a strong closing statement. Reinforce the theme and the lesson. So tell us more about the theme, reinforce it, tell us about the lessons, and then conclude your narrative. Okay, then lastly on how to write is editing and revision. Make sure you proofread your work before you give people to read. Just go through it, check the grammar errors, make some clarity, and then make sure that the narrative has no mistakes. Just go through your reading again. This is very important. Okay,